Welcome back, and it's time to have that very interesting interview that I promised you on World Vision, talking on SDGs. Citizens hearing coming on today, later on today. We discussing the SDGs, how well we have performed so far. It's been a year since it has been adopted by various governments, including our government as well. And you as a citizen out there, what have you been doing in order to achieve the goals yourself? And what are policymakers also doing in this regard? Today, we're going to see to the discussion on citizens hearing, and I have with me two gentlemen, one from the World Vision Ghana and the other from Alliance for Reproductive Health Rights. Mr. Micah Ayu Olad, sitting next to me, is the coordinator for World Vision Ghana. And next to him, I have Mr. Archibald Adams, the coordinator for Alliance for Reproductive Health Rights. You're welcome.
Thank you very much.
Good to have you. So this is the second in the series of the citizens hearing. And I would like to first have an idea about how the first one was, and then we can move on to this one.
Okay. You would like me to start?
Yes, I'd like to start with you.
Yes, so thank you very much for having us on your set. The first National Citizens Hearing was basically to bring to light the gaps that Ghana had during the implementation of the Millennium Development Goals. Okay. And we tracked and realized that with the Health Millennium Development Goals, they were largely not achieved. Okay. And for that matter, we had an unfinished business there. And so we're calling on government of Ghana to roll on with the goals that were not achieved into the SDGs, because we do not want to have a situation whereby, yes, we have a new set of goals now, so let's pack the rest. Exactly. And so that was the main reason for the first National Citizens Hearing we had. Okay. And basically we pulled down recommendations from the grassroots level, scaling through to the district and then to the national, to tell the government that these are the things your citizens are saying, this is the recommendation they have, and this is what they want to see even in the next sustainable development goals that currently we have signed on to. Okay,
so at the back of the MDGs we have implemented now, or we are implementing the sustainable development goals, 17 of them, and with about 163 targets. Are we grouping all of them in this discussion or this hearing that we're going to be having, or we have specifics that we have identified for this? Because when it comes to Ghana, we have particular things that are very peculiar to us. Our reproductive health, our poverty, mortality rates, and all that. So are we grouping it all the 17 agenda, or are we going to be specific with some of the goals?
Okay. For the Citizens Forum, we're looking at the SDGs in totality. Okay. We are into health, into gender, into children affairs, and to those issues. But ultimately, we've come to realize that if all the 17 goals are effectively implemented, it will have repelling effect on our focus areas that we work with. So we are looking at the 17 goals in totality.
Okay. All right. So let's talk about the forum now.
Sure.
What form is it taking? It's a hearing, you said?
Yes.
Who are we expected to be there? Policymakers? The civil society? Which category of people are we expected to be there?
All right. So for today's forum, which is taking place this morning at the Fiesta Royale Hotel at Jolu Junction, we're expecting policymakers, we're expecting citizens, we have representatives of citizens across the country who are coming. We're expecting the media, we're expecting CSOs, we're expecting members from the donor community. We're expecting everyone to be there. It's an opportunity for us to ask policymakers what they have been doing since they signed on to the SDGs last year, September. Our last year's forum, what we did was to bring on board the unfinished business. They made pledges that they were going to roll it onto the SDGs. So we are just going to ask them, what have you done so far, and what can we do better in the coming years?
Yeah, and I think just to add to what Archibald has mentioned, I think the forum, looking at the participants or the sector of people that we are bringing on board. It's again also to provide a platform where we would have community members having the opportunity to even engage with policymakers. This is rarely done in our country. It's either a top-down approach where they just send the information and that is it. But this time around, we want to give them the opportunity to say that this is what is happening in my community. And so if I'm part of these goals that you have signed on to, I expect probably in the next 15 years that this ABC should happen, and then we would feel a part, and then we'll also know that our recommendations have been heard. And so that is one of the main essence of bringing on board different sectors of citizens to this hearing. Last year we had the Minister of Health being the guest of honor, and this year again we are calling on the Honorable Minister of Health to come and be the special guest of honor. With this year's citizens hearing, we are engaging or working very closely with the National Development Planning Commission to come and present to us Ghana's strategy in implementing the Sustainable Development Goals.
Okay, we've been talking about the SDGs. Let's be specific with some of the goals now. For instance, talk about no poverty. I think that's the very first one. So no poverty, zero. It's a very drastic one, very ambitious. And when we talk about goals like this, as you rightly mentioned, it's more like a top-down approach, and we are sitting back and waiting for somebody to solve the problem for us. But do you think it can happen that way? If we just relax and say that the policymakers or the government is going to give us no poverty?
Okay, I think basically these goals are supposed to be guiding principles, and when you look at most of the documents that were ratified in connection with these goals, the whole idea of the SDGs was to ensure that it has been localized into our development plans. So for instance, the short-term plan, which ends in 2017, should probably be restructured. The 40-year plan, which is being developed by the NDPC, should also be incorporated. And then the various budgets, annual budget that usually being read by government in November, should also have some bits and pieces of these goals. I mean, otherwise we will sit down waiting, and by the time we realize 15 years had come, and we'll not have achieved anything.
And we'll be open onto another.
Exactly. So maybe another
set of goals.
DPP or something, or DGP or something. But you see, this whole idea is to ensure that everything we do is localized. So I mean, like you mentioned, SDG 1, no poverty. For instance, SDG 3, which talks about healthy life for all. How can we incorporate it? SDG 5 talks about gender inequality, and 10 talks about 5 talks about gender inequality, 10 talks about inequalities in general. How do we incorporate them into our local activities from the from the district assembly to the regional and then the national level? That's the only way we can. So that's why we are bringing the NDPC, because they are more into policy development and development of plans for government, so that we can track them from that level as well.
Okay, I commend you on the hearing that you organized, but I think we could still do more in that regard, talking about the role of the citizenry in achieving this, because they are goals that we have set or governments have set, and we all need to work together in achieving them. But let's look at, you said it's happening at Fiesta Royale today. It's a one-day event. So today, starting at what time?
At 10 in the morning.
At 10 in the morning, Fiesta Royale Hotel, and we should all be there. Open to everybody.
And
no entrance fee, nothing. You could just go there and hear and make your input.
And ask questions. It's open to the public.
And just to add on to that, the National Citizens Hearing is as a result of community hearings, of district hearings, and even regional hearings that have been conducted at various specified times. And so we are pulling down the outcomes of these hearings into the national forum. So, for example, we have had a hearing in the northern part of Ghana where we went into Savlugu area and even Tamale to just solicit the views of the ordinary citizen. We also use that as an opportunity to disseminate the sustainable development goals to these people. And so for that reason, we are thinking that in as much as we are making that interaction, we are also making it a platform for citizens citizens to engage with policymakers.
Okay. I believe you're not doing this alone. I have seen you coming from the World Vision International Ghana, and then he also coming from the Alliance for Reproductive Health Rights. Are there other groups that you're working together with?
Yeah. So we are working, World Vision
yes.
is leading us in this process. Alliance for Reproductive Health Rights. We have
Hope for Future.
Hope for Future. Okay.
Wood Association
yes.
Ghana, PPAG. We have the Health Coalition of NGOs.
Okay.
And then we have other organizations that are on board supporting us, media organizations like GTV.
Yes, and of course, the government, they should be there as well.
Yes, government is going to be represented.
Yes.
Of course.
Government is going to be represented.
Okay, so I want to see, if we have this one-off, are we going to be having series of them or a tracking process in order for us to be able to achieve, because my main issue is that we should achieve the goals. So we don't rope things into another goals, formations and all that. We need to achieve the goals that we have set for ourselves. We're going to be having a tracking process.
Yeah, definitely there's going to be a tracking process. That's why we are in constant engagement or in collaboration with the like-minded organization that Archibald has already mentioned. And I want to also quickly note that it doesn't even end at the national level, because these things that we are doing are going to be imported into the international front, or if you may like, at the global level. Last year, what we did was rolled on to what we call the Global Citizens Hearing, and this was done during the World Health Assembly, which is always held in May. So for the local ones we did for this year, we inputted that into the just ended World Health Assembly, and we are now making sure that with the national one we would have the results will be inputted into the UN General Assembly, where we always have the President of the Republic of Ghana being a part, and key ministers in that regard joining in those assemblies. So we would want to pull the outcome of this hearing and present to them even at that level, so that they would see and know that these are the thoughts of Ghanaians, and this is what they should look out for when they come back to the country.
And then adding to what Micah said, for the partner organizations that are on board, will continue to do our programming and activities in and around the focus areas where we work. And then as we do that, we'll continue to monitor. And then getting to next year's forum, we'll start from the community hearing, move to the district, the regional, and then meet again at the national to look at what we have been able to track so far.
Okay, I'm going to ask you a very interesting question now. And
Please do.
All right, the SDGs. I mentioned earlier that they are very, very ambitious goals. And so, in your estimation, do you think they're achievable? Are they realistic goals?
I think generally they are ambitious goals, which every goal should be ambitious, if I should say.
If you talk about zero poverty?
If you talk about zero poverty, when you come to read the targets and the indicators that we want to achieve, it doesn't talk about eliminating it, but it talks about a particular proportion that should be reduced, which would make it a zero. And so if even you realize for the MDGs, MDG 1, which also talked about poverty, was achieved for Ghana, because we're talking about halving poverty indicators, which Ghana did. And so for this particular goal on SDG talking about no poverty, I am sure, or
sounds absolute.
Yeah, so with indicators and with the targets that we have set for ourselves, if we are able to really implement what we intend to do, I'm sure Ghana, we can get there. We'll be able to make poverty a thing of the past.
I like the enthusiasm.
Yeah.
Final words, Mike. Archibald.
Okay, so we want to call on everyone hearing us, watching us, to join us if they can. But if they can't, they should look out for the Citizens Forum at the district, at the community, district and regional levels, and then find a way to make their concerns, recommendations heard. They can also visit our various websites. We have platforms of Facebook where they can make their comments, and we'll capture them into the bigger picture when presenting it to government.
Great. Thank you very much. Oh, you want to say something? in 5 seconds.
Okay, so in 5 seconds, I just still want to encourage everybody to be there because we have called on the international development partners and then our donor agencies, including policymakers. And I know that people are traveling even far and wide to join us for this hearing. So I also take this opportunity to especially invite GTV Big Breakfast Show to come and represent Indiana.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Micah Ayo Olad, Campaign Coordinator, World Vision Ghana, and Mr. Archibald Adams, Coordinator for Alliance for Reproductive Health Rights. I got it right this time. And it's all our target to meet, not just a governmental policy or a governmental goal to achieve. All of us need to play our roles in achieving the SDGs that we have set for ourselves. So let's put our hands together, be at the citizens hearing today at Fiesta Royale starting at 10 a.m. and make your voice heard. We'll be back with more.